This is News Center 13 with Patrick Emery, Cameron Harper, weather with Bob Gregory, and sports director Don Hine.
Good evening to you. The whole purpose of Kurt Waldheim's visit to Iran was to meet with the Ayatollah Khomeini, but it now looks like the UN Secretary General will not meet with Iran's leader. A spokesman for Khomeini said the Ayatollah will not accept a request for direct talks about the hostage crisis at the American embassy in Tehran. Now winding up its second month, by the way, Waldheim did meet tonight with members of Iran's Revolutionary Council, the men who run the day-to-day affairs of government there. And the UN leader remains optimistic about the success of his peace mission.
Well, I think this meeting was very helpful in order to achieve a peaceful settlement.
Earlier in the day, Waldheim traveled to a cemetery on the outskirts of Tehran, an attempt to visit the graves of men and women killed during the regime of the Shah. But slogan-shouting Iranians mobbed Waldheim's limousine, and he was forced to return to the safety of an Iran Air Force helicopter. Cameron?
Just 1,000 miles to the east of Iran, heavy fighting continues in Afghanistan. Muslim rebel leaders claim some victories over invading Soviet troops in parts of the country, with a great number of Russian soldiers killed. Western sources were unable to confirm any of those reports. World indignation at the apparent Soviet takeover is coming to a head at the United Nations. 42 nations, including the U.S., China, many Muslim and other third world nations, sent a joint letter to the President of the Security Council asking for a debate on the crisis in Afghanistan. A Security Council session could begin sometime tomorrow. At the White House, presidential spokesman Jody Powell announced the first of a number of possible U.S. reactions. Powell said Mr. Carter wants the Senate to put off debate on the SALT II Arms Limitation Treaty because such debate would be inappropriate until the U.S. could reevaluate the Kremlin's political intentions.
Senate leaders agreed with the president's decision. Indiana's Richard Lugar talked about it at an Indianapolis News conference.
I don't think that we are close to war, and largely because we are not in a position to respond to what the Soviets are doing. In order for there to be a war, there has to be a confrontation. And we've not been prepared to confront anybody in Afghanistan, Iran, or anywhere else. So I think the dangers, of course, are that without a war, we could lose oil. That is the Straits of Hormuz, for example, the ability simply to fuel this country, to have vital metals and minerals. There are all sorts of ways to lose out in terms of national status short of a shooting conflict. That is the danger that we have presently, that strategically we may be shut out of the Middle East and vital resources of metals and minerals that are absolutely required for full employment or any sort of standard of living increases in this country.
South Dakota's George McGovern had this reaction to postponement of the SALT II debate.
The president was just facing a political reality. The SALT process is temporarily paralyzed, if not dead.
But presidential candidate Howard Baker said Afghanistan and Iran should make Americans wonder about our foreign policy. There is talk in Moscow that the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan may reflect some new strategic thinking by top Kremlin leaders. But one thing is clear, East-West détente has reached a temporary dead end this evening.
In Indianapolis tomorrow, the Marion County Sheriff's Merit Board resumes its probe into the shooting death of Joseph Clark. Clark was shot by Deputy Ernest Riggs last October, and the question is, should the deputy be prosecuted? John Russell was at the first day of testimony.
The hearing started at 9 this morning with the Merit Board members getting testimony from Park Chateau security guard Don Stratton, who was responsible for calling sheriff's deputies to the complex on October 6th. On that night, Deputy Ernest Riggs accidentally shot and killed 22-year-old Joseph Clark. Today's testimony centered around the events that led up to the attempted arrest and eventual shooting of Clark. More than 10 witnesses were called by prosecutor Jim Payne to present his case to the Merit Board that Officer Riggs acted with undue and unnecessary force. One of the witnesses, 18-year-old William Bivens, claimed to have been an eyewitness to the shooting. He said he didn't come forward before because he feared for his life. He described what happened seconds before the shooting took place.
he was going. He said, "Don't make me use this."
Right after that, he says, Riggs put his service revolver to Joseph Clark's neck and within seconds pulled the trigger and killed him. The hearing is expected to last into the evening, and it could take a while before the board decides if Riggs used unnecessary and violent force and should be fired from the sheriff's department and then prosecuted in a court of law for the death of Joseph Clark. John Russell, News Center 13.
Police are still looking tonight for the man who robbed a West Side Indianapolis bank today. The bandit, armed with a sawed-off shotgun, took an undetermined amount of money from the Chapel branch of the People's Bank. Cameras at the bank did not work, so police don't have a picture of the man. He's described as white, 5 feet 9 inches tall, 150 pounds, wearing gray clothing and a gray tweed cap. He jumped in a running car, sped away, and then abandoned the car, which too was stolen. No one was injured in the incident.
Police have arrested a 16-year-old Indianapolis youth and charged him with murdering a 15-year-old by the name of Curtis Shannon, also of Indianapolis. Shannon was stabbed to death today outside the 38th Street Christian Church. A witness to the incident was able to help homicide investigators locate the suspect. Shannon stumbled to the back door of the church for help, but it was too late by the time medics arrived. Police say the stabbing occurred after one of the youngsters made an obscene gesture to the other. The murder trial of Stephen Judy will begin next Monday in Martinsville. Judy is accused of killing an Indianapolis woman and her 3 children last April. Judy says he is innocent by reason of insanity. The pretrial hearing for Indiana Marine Robert Garwood will resume on Tuesday. Some Vietnamese refugees may take the stand to tell of their encounters with Garwood, who faces charges of desertion and collaboration with the enemy during his 13 years in Vietnam.
Still ahead from the News Center, there are some big water problems tonight in Ripley County.
And Governor Bowen talks about state help for Chrysler. Those stories and more next.
Eyewitness News is brought to you in part by Hooks, the prescription people.
If wintertime means cold, damp feet to you, get Dr. Scholl's Thermocushion and sheep wool fleece insoles. Sheep wool fleece insoles give fluffy warmth to women's or men's boots and slippers, while thin thermocushions with space-age insulation protect feet from cold and dampness in any shoe. Cold feet? Damp feet? Keep them warmer and drier with Dr. Scholl's Thermocushion and Dr. Scholl's sheep wool fleece insoles.
Look for this display.
Is it ever white sale time at Airway? Right now, every sheet in the store is on sale. Every sheet. Like Mountain Mist, a fresh as spring pattern in all sizes. Twin size sheets only 2 for $5. Look for bathroom, bedroom, kitchen coordinates. Rugs and drapes, too. Look for savings in our Wow of a White sale now through January 5th.
At Airway, we give you our best.
The small city of Osgood in southeastern Indiana is on the brink of a water shortage tonight. Last night, a fire destroyed most of the city's water purification plant, and officials are trying to hook the system there up with another water company. Rich Van Wyk has details.
Water company officials eased the shortage by turning off their large commercial customers. Many closed, putting hundreds of people temporarily out of work. But even with conservation, Osgood's water towers hold only enough to supply its 900 residential customers until about noon tomorrow. At the burned-out waterworks, investigators from the State Fire Marshal's office went to work, trying to find out how the fire started. 2 firemen were overcome by chlorine gas fighting last night's blaze. They're recovering at a Cincinnati hospital. The fire started close to the ceiling, just inside this office window. Investigators say it could have been caused by any one of a number of things, including an electrical short. But so far, they haven't ruled out arson. Their investigation should be complete in a few days, but it will be much longer before the water is running normally again in Osgood. The fire destroyed most of the plant's purification system and electrical wiring. A new plant already under construction won't be ready for at least 6 months. How long is it going to take you to get this plant back in operation?
I have, at the present time, not the faintest idea. I don't know how long it's going to take to get some of the equipment required.
Before the water towers run dry, Osgood will hook up to another water company. The temporary connection consists of a fire hose stretched between 2 fire hydrants. Health officials say it's safe and should supply residents with enough water, but no one knows when the town's factories, laundromats, and car washes will be allowed to reopen. Rich Van Wyk, Sky Witness 13.
An Indiana Marine is one of 4 officers listed as missing at sea tonight off the coast of South Carolina. First Lieutenant S.A. Capitan, 25 years old, from Griffith Lake, was on board one of 2 Phantom jet fighters that disappeared near the Marine Air Station at Beaufort, South Carolina. Both of the jets were on a routine training flight.
The federal government has devised a plan to aid the financially troubled Chrysler Corporation, but that plan depends on the help of those states that contain the automaker's major plant. Indiana itself has about 15,000 Chrysler workers, so the state's share in helping Chrysler would amount to $32 million in the way of guarantees. Governor Otis Bowen says that it is doubtful that the state legislature would approve that kind of money.
And the legislature will take in consideration all of the facts. The fact that in the event they get all of the money from all of the states and the federal government and still fail, then the state will be left holding the bag for that amount of money, and that's something that they have to take in consideration. Certainly they will want some first mortgages, I would think, on some of the property that they do have, but it's my understanding that even that does not go up to anyways near the $32 million that they have requested.
But the governor says that he would not veto the bill should it pass. By the way, Chrysler is getting a cold shoulder, if you will, from Canadian auto workers. The company has asked Chrysler workers to go along with the pay cuts needed to get government help in this country, but the Canadians have said nay, nay. They are not going to let the U.S. Congress tell them what to do.
A northern Indiana company that makes automotive switches had some good news for some of its workers today. Switches Incorporated of Logansport will have more than half of its workers back on the job by January 14th. The company has been shut down since early November. The controversial cancer drug Laetrile is being put on trial. The Food and Drug Administration has given the National Cancer Institute the go-ahead to prove either the worth or worthlessness of the drug. This is Linda Perry, a member of a local cancer group called Freedom of Choice, favors the testing, but not the procedure.
They have chosen people who have already been through the whole orthodox route, who have not gotten good results with this method of treatment, because their bodies cannot possibly be in good condition to start now on the metabolic program. So if any show any good results at all, it'll be a miracle.
Even though it has approved Laetrile testing, the FDA still views the drug as a hoax and urges cancer patients to stick with conventional treatments.
Barry Goldwater will announce his candidacy for another term in the Senate tomorrow. If he does not, a lot of people are going to be surprised. He'll make the announcement in Arizona tomorrow. It would be his 5th term, and at the end of it, he would be 77 years old, 30 of those years in the United States Senate. The Republicans are looking for big things in 1980, and they want Goldwater back.
Still to come tonight, highlights from the hockey game at Market Square Arena.
But next up, Bob Gregory will look ahead to the weather for the first weekend of 1980.
There's been a lot of talk and confusion about generic drugs. That's why you should turn to Hooks for some positive answers. Very simply, a generic drug is chemically equivalent to an original brand name drug that's no longer patent protected. At Hooks, we've been dispensing generic drugs for over 75 years, but today, more and more widely used brand name drugs are becoming available as generics, and they are less expensive. But since differing manufacturing techniques can cause quality variation, your doctor should help decide if a generic is right for you. Should he prescribe one, you and your physician could rest assured that Hooks stocks only high-quality generic medicines. And remember, brand name or generic, Hooks pharmacists in green fill your prescriptions exactly as your doctor orders.
When you need someone to turn to, let Hooks be one.
Well, we had a little snane this morning when I got
What do you call it?
Snane.
Snane.
Snow that doesn't know what it is.
I guess that's about it for us.
You have other hybrid terms that you're going to be letting us in on?
We'll get into that. We'll talk about some, well, improving situations for snow skiers. They might be happy with that. It's kind of a whisk-broom snow as far as we're concerned here, but temperatures are cold enough. Will continue to be that way into the weekend for a lot of snow-making machines running full blast on the Indiana slopes anyway. Here's a look at our National Weather Service radar and what we're seeing just south of the Indianapolis metropolitan area, a little horseshoe area of showers extending from west of Danville all the way around through the Greenwood area. And this is all very light snow grains. And then the other packet has expanded a little bit in aerial coverage, specifically down around Bedford and the Paoli area, which will make folks happy down there. Here in Indianapolis, only a trace so far. We've had just 1 inch of snow so far for the season, but we'll work on improving that. Our high today, 34, the low so far, 28. The record low for today, not quite as cold as the one displayed there. We had 25 below back in 1884. Way above that. 29 is the present temperature now, officially at the airport. 31 degrees downtown, cloudy at both spots, humidity at 81. Our winds northeast at 13. The pressure that beginning to fall some now at 30.15, and the air quality in the excellent category. Here's a look at the satellite photograph, this one taken at 8:30 this evening. You see the clouds expanding this area of precipitation, cutting diagonally across the state over into Ohio, getting to about Nashville and there southward. Scattered rain showers are the rule at the present time. The center causing that activity is a low-pressure cell in Mississippi, and it will continue moving in a northeastward direction. Thus, it'll stay far enough to the east that the heaviest snow will fall right along the Ohio River with a possibility of an inch down there. Now, this light covering of snow has been the rule throughout much of lower Michigan today. For snow skiers, this is the latest and the best, I guess, that we have to offer for you anyway. Lower Michigan, just light snow. They say that most spots are open, but on a limited basis. Right here in Indiana, snowmaking machines are very busy, both at Long Mountain and down at Paoli. They say they will be open by the weekend. But I urge you to call your favorite spot ahead of time just to make sure that they indeed are skiing. War Route, 18 below zero, 80 out at Spring Valley was the hot spot in the nation today. Rain showers anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch along the Texas Gulf Coast. Through the Midwest tomorrow, what we can expect, temperatures holding in the 20s to the low 30s. Possibility of 1 to 3 inches of snow for Cincinnati. The look at maybe an inch in Louisville and Evansville, and as I say, just a dusting of snow through the central part of the state. So for us overnight, occasional light snow. 25 will be our low. Cloudy with the snow ending tomorrow and a 28 high in the afternoon. Our winds northeast probably less than 10 miles an hour. It'll be cloudy again tomorrow night. 20 will be the low, and looking on into Saturday, I'm afraid the clouds will continue to hang on. Highs will be in the 20s. Now, a little luck, we might make the 30s on Sunday with a chance of some snow later in the day. And then Monday, it looks as though we may have some snow cover in the state again. And then by Tuesday, fair and wintry cold will set in. We can expect high temperatures only in the teens. So look for the scarf and mittens again. Okay? That's
Thanks,
it in the
Bob.
weather.
We'll have another Indian summer soon.
In sports tonight.
Big Ten stuff tonight, big fella. Big Ten stuff.
We'll be right back.
Grab your pen there.
It's the all-new 12th Annual RV and Camper Show, January 11th through January 20th. Join us in the all-new Pavilion Building on the Indiana State Fairgrounds. Don't miss it. Hundreds of RVs and campers on display from Indiana's leading dealers. See the energy-saving innovations of the 80s. Super lightweight construction, aerodynamic styling, overdrives, combination fuel systems, they're all here. Bring the whole family. Show hours daily 5 p.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday and Sunday noon to 10 p.m. Adults $3, children 16 and under free when accompanied by an adult.
At Marsh, we value you.
I think Marsh prices in the produce department are very competitive. That's one reason that I do shop Marsh.
This week, buy U.S. #1 russet baking potatoes. 10 pounds for only $1 with coupon.
The Marsh specials enable me to still stay within the lines of my budget and come home with a bigger market basket.
At Marsh, we value you. We value you.
And how is the Olympic hockey team? Hockey team. We're going to be talking about that in just a second, by the way. But let's talk about the IU stuff right off the top here. Purdue and IU, by the way. Purdue won, IU lost as Big Ten play began all across the Midwest tonight. Indiana really played the game it wanted to. Not exactly a slowdown, but certainly a conservative game against Ohio State to conserve a lineup that was missing Woodson, Whitman, Eisenbarger, and Kitchell. Now, this was the key point in the first half when IU went from 4 down to 6 up with 10 unanswered points. 2 consecutive hoops by Isaiah Thomas, who led Indiana scoring with 15, and another big one by Ray Tolbert. But it all came down to this. Glenn Grunwald hitting 1 of 2 at the line with 9 seconds left for a 1-point Indiana lead. Grunwald then fouled state freshman Clark Kellogg, who canned both of them for the final 59-58 Ohio State, as a last-second Grunwald shot went awry. Joe Barry Carroll's 25 points and 4 block shots, the last one with 4 seconds left, led Purdue. They beat the defending NC2A champion, Michigan State, tonight, 74-73. That must have been an exciter, too. Iowa, without Ronnie Lester, shaded Illinois 72-71. Nothing yet on Minnesota, Michigan. Hopefully we'll have that before the end of the cast. Wisconsin and Northwestern in a match at the bottom of the pack, won by the Badgers 75-66. Here's that Michigan score, 71-67 in favor of Michigan over Minnesota. Butler was beaten by Western Kentucky 66-62. In the Mo Valley, Creighton by 8 over Southern Illinois. In other games, Louisville beats Tulsa badly, and Drake over Georgetown 79-77. Drake must be a pretty tough ball club. IU barely beat Georgetown when they had Mike Woodson. Mike was at the Ohio State game tonight, a Hoosier alum. Pacer coach Bobby Leonard feels for Woodson and IU.
When you bring a ball player as a freshman and work with him 3 years and get him to the height of his ability college-wise and then have to lose him, it's just a severe blow. And I don't care, sure, Bobby and that ball club, they'll go out and go with what they got, but you give up a Woodson and you're giving up a whole bunch.
That about says it all, doesn't it? Randy Whitman should return next week. Phil Eisenbarger may play Saturday. No word on Ted Kitchell's sprained ankle. Here's one of America's premier college players, DePaul's Mark Aguirre, just a sophomore, as his 34 last night killed Missouri. He's big, strong, quick, and can shoot the ball. Kentucky squeaked by, as you say right there, by Auburn by a deuce last night, getting the ball on a Jay Scheidler charge, 5-4, 3-2-1, and we're back again, then having to go to Kyle Macy's 23-footer at the horn for the 2-point victory. Kentucky's ranked second, by the way. Nearly 6,000 fans at the arena tonight as our Checkers took on the U.S. Olympic hockey team for the second time this year. They lost the first one in Chicago 1-0. Tonight it was a 2-2 tie. The red, white, and blue got on the scoreboard first to start the game. Steve Kristoff lit the light with 17:38 left in the first period. It ended that way, but the Checkers' Alex McKendry got a power play goal at the 9:04 mark of the second period to tie it at 1. Ivan Vautour gave the Checkers the lead in the same period at 11:51 mark, 2-1. Vautour's 6th of the year, McKendry's 16th, but just under 2 minutes into the third stanza, Kristoff tied it when they pulled their goalie. 2-2 the final. The Checkers home to Salt Lake on Saturday. Indiana Pacers lost their 4th consecutive game tonight, this time at Milwaukee, 106-96. Mickey Johnson led the Pacers scoring with 25. Other NBA scores, we have New Jersey beating Atlanta 126-119. Philly over Cleveland by 1, 109-108. The Knicks pummeled San Diego by 37, 138-101. From the National Hockey League, we have Pittsburgh beating the New York Islanders 4-3. That Vancouver-St. Louis game is a late one. In high school play tonight, Eastbrook beat Mississinawa 60-56. Oak Hill over Madison Grant 50-46. In girls basketball, North Central beat Lawrence Central 47-30. Magic Johnson really treated the 15,000 that came to see him at the arena last night. He got his average 20. He's number 2 in the West balloting for All-Star Guard. And then here's the guy that's the #1 vote getter in the National Basketball Association. Not that one right there, but this one right here. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He got 32 last night. He's also the league's player of the month. And last night, he went over the 23,000 mark. He's 5th in the league in all-time scoring, past Elton Baylor. He's a player. Thank you, Don. When we come back, we'll tell you about the end of an era on the boardwalk. Don't go away.
Lazarus White Sale is...
And it isn't.
It is a sale with 20 to 40% savings on every sheet and towel in stock.
And it isn't just white. It's bold, easy to accessorize colors from Martex.
It's famous Martex quality in 9 colors of thick, thirsty towels, 8 beautiful colors of super soft sheets, and Martex bedspreads in 4 great colors, all coordinated.
And it isn't expensive. Sheets and towels start as low as $5.97.
It is quite a sale. The White Sale, going on now at Lazarus.
The crises in Iran and now Afghanistan are making the world money markets go crazy. A general mistrust of paper currencies is forcing a run on the world's gold supply. 1 ounce of the precious metal was going for $621 at the close of trading in New York today. In London, the price was more than $400 higher than this time a year ago. Zurich's closing price was $118 more than the last day of trading. And in Hong Kong, gold zoomed to a price just short of $650 an ounce. One expert says these prices can only be justified if people have the most incredible fears about world inflation.
12 bishops and more than 500 delegates of the African Episcopal Zion Church have begun a 3-day meeting here in Indianapolis. The Executive Council is being held at the Jones Tabernacle AME Zion Church on the east side. There, the bishops will hold services, discuss problems affecting blacks, and plan the church's future. But today's opening session had a sad note. The church's senior bishop, the Reverend H.P. Shaw of North Carolina, died suddenly last night after arriving in Indianapolis for the convention. Purdue University is turning away hundreds of straight-A high school students from out of state who want to study engineering. The reason for this? Overcrowded conditions for next year's freshman class. Officials decided to limit enrollment in the engineering school because it is the most overcrowded on campus. To make things even worse, some of the rejected applicants are children of alumni, and that, as you might imagine, could hurt financing.
People who receive supplementary security income will be getting a bonus next week, a check for $229. It's a one-time payment, part of President Carter's federal energy program. The money is intended to help elderly and low-income people pay winter utility bills. More than 41,000 Hoosiers will be getting the checks. Well, it took nearly 6 years to do it, but the town of Monticello has finally paid its debt to the state. In the spring of 1974, White County was ripped apart by a tornado. 8 people died. 200 homes were destroyed, and the area's biggest landmark, the White County Courthouse, was leveled. Insurance money and federal funds were not enough to rebuild the courthouse, so the state offered to lend the county $1 million. Today, county commissioners handed over the final payment check to Governor Bowen. They said they're glad the debt has finally been paid off. The head of the Miss America pageant says that he will not change his mind. Bert Parks, for 25 years, host of the annual beauty contest, has been fired from his job as MC. The pageant's chief executive, Albert Marks, said it was a very tough decision. Parks referred to it as a shabby trick. No word yet on who will replace Bert Parks. There's Bert. Small business in this country might be more profitable if they didn't have to spend so much time and money answering bureaucratic questions. It is estimated that all the small businesses in the U.S. spend almost $13 billion a year to answer more than 5 billion government questions, mostly from the IRS. The Senate Small Business Committee is going to start looking into the paperwork to see what can be done to ease the load. And that's the news for this Thursday night. We thank you for watching us.
Johnny Carson is next on Channel 13. We will have more for you from the News Center tomorrow at 6, 7, and 11. Do have a very pleasant good evening.
You see this plant? The roots are dead. It was watered too much. Now, this is what a healthy Boston fern looks like with proper watering. Now, look at this prayer plant. You see, the leaves are already brown and curled. It's getting too much sunlight. You know, 8 out of 10 indoor plants die within the first year. But there's an answer to this problem, the greenhouse. Everything you need to know to grow beautiful, healthy houseplants is right here. Now, if you have a problem with a Boston fern, just go to the greenhouse, and there's a card on Boston ferns. On the front is a picture of what a healthy plant should look like, and on the back are easy-to-follow guidelines on how to keep your plant beautiful. It tells you about light, water, temperature, fertilizing, even special care instructions. But that's not all. There are bonus cards that show many ways to display your plants, how to make terrariums, and so forth. Plus, you also get Know and Grow cards giving detailed information on fertilizer, potting, everything you need to know to keep your plants healthy. And as you know, healthy plants make any home more beautiful. The cards will give you hundreds of ideas on how to decorate your living room with plants, or the bedroom, or your bathroom, and to turn your sun porch or terrace into a showplace. How can you have the greenhouse? Just say so, and we'll send you the first set of cards, 30, for you to try on approval. Then every month we'll send you new sets. Examine them for 14 days, and if you're not completely satisfied, just return them or keep them and pay only $1.89 plus postage and handling. Act right now, and we'll send you the greenhouse and divider cards absolutely free just for examining the first set of cards. It's a $10 value, yours to keep, even if you return the cards. So order now. Here's how.
To order your first set of plant cards and free greenhouse on a 14-day free trial basis, call toll-free 1-800-228-5000. That's 1-800-228-5000. Or send no money. Just your name and address to Greenhouse, Box 1313B, Indianapolis, Indiana. For fastest action, call 1-800-228-5000.
The MASH doctors will keep you in stitches weekdays at 5:30.
From Hollywood, The Tonight Show, starring Johnny Carson. This is Ed McMahon along with Doc Severinsen and the NBC Orchestra inviting you to join